Welcome to yet another Storytime episode. Today we're talking about the chilling story of a woman who rented a house in Puchong, Selangor, in Malaysia, and the terrible events that she faced. This is Storytime. Preferred having her name anonymous, we'll stick to calling her Sarah. At the time Sarah told her story, she was an attendant at a local Petronas petrol station in Puchong. Sarah rented an old apartment and has been staying at this apartment for several months, but lately she felt like something was different. On Thursday night, she worked late and reached home around midnight. Exhausted after a long day, she entered her house, threw her bag and her helmet on the sofa in the living room and sat cross-legged on the floor, lighting up a cigarette before intending to shower. She scrolled through her Instagram on her phone, and exactly then was when she started feeling something very strange around her. She felt something staring at her from the kitchen, and when she looked over in that direction, she saw nothing there. Thinking she was just tired, she just ignored it and moved on. Feeling like showering, she went to the bathroom. As she came out after her shower, she realized that her helmet was missing from the sofa of where she placed it. She slipped her clothes on and started searching for the helmet. Minute after minute, she kept searching until she hit something hard. At that point, she saw her helmet was placed at the exact place where she left it. Her eyes couldn't have missed something so big. It was right there, and then it just disappeared, and somehow it was back where it was. Feeling like she was just blur or tired, she moved past it. She smoked another cigarette and finally went to bed. Later on, at around 2 in the morning, she woke up from sleep feeling like the room was so hot as though it was on fire. She grabbed her phone and started watching YouTube to pass her time and hope she will feel sleepy again and finally fall asleep. Suddenly, she heard the next room door open. The sound was so distinct that she knew she wasn't imagining it. Then, it slammed shut. Scared, she tried calling her friend, but they didn't answer. The helmet on the sofa fell down with a loud bang and rolled across the floor. She knew that whatever it was playing with her. She was so scared that she hid herself under her blanket. The sounds became louder and louder at this time, and she even heard a baby crying in the hallway. She felt the blood in her face drain to her feet. Her stomach shrank and her heart sank. Then, the sounds just stopped. 100 thoughts went through her head of what just happened and why this was happening to her all of a sudden, and why it hadn't occurred earlier, since she's already been staying there for months. She was left with so many questions unanswered. Weeks later, Sarah had some friends over at night, one named Brady and another named Amri. They hung out in the living room with a guitar, 3 cups of coffee, and a box of cigarettes. All 3 of them heard a distinct loud knock at the door at the end of the hall, which sounded like someone's foot knocked into it. All 3 of them stopped and stared at the door in shock, and moved closer to one another. Before Sarah could even speak, they heard 3 more knocks on the door. They were all in fear because they know no one else was home except for the 3 of them. The door opened on its own, slowly creaking. They were so scared they ran to the master bedroom, turned on all the lights and locked the door. Hiding in that room, they heard water running from the kitchen sink, and the toilet shower was on in the living room, only lasting for a few minutes. All the sounds suddenly stopped. They heard a woman's moan right in front of their bedroom door. The fear and anxiety grew too intensive for Sarah that she fainted. She couldn't remember what happened except that she woke up later that night next to the both of them sleeping on bed. Around 2 in the morning, Sarah woke up again to the sound of someone knocking their front door. Scared from the events that happened earlier, she woke up her 2 friends and told them to check the door. As they were heading to the front door, they kept hearing an elderly man saying these words. She opened the door and saw no one there. Their eyes were wide open, and they were wide awake. They opened their grill door and checked both left and right, but they saw no one there. And right before they were heading back into the house, they noticed a figure standing at the end of the hallway. It looked like an old Chinese man, just standing there. The man kept staring, then he started walking towards them. His first few paces were slow. The next grew faster and faster until he started to run towards them, and all they could hear were his footsteps getting faster and closer to them. They ran in their house, locked the grill and the door, and waited, hoping the man would stop bothering them. But no. The door began to shake aggressively and the knocks were loud and heavy. All they could do was pray and run to their room, locking their room door and hid themselves under the blanket. The events lasted for only about 5 minutes, but it felt like hours to Sarah and her friends. After the 5 minutes passed, the sound suddenly stopped and everything was calm, like it didn't even happen. They couldn't sleep anymore after what they saw, and stayed awake until sunrise, until they finally felt peace and they went to bed. These events were based on a true story and was the scariest event Sarah promised she had faced while staying at the haunted apartment. Nobody truly knows if Sarah still lives in the building, as there was no more posts after this one. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Defies. Thanks for watching.